doing their thing. Pollinators. Giving you guys a little food forest update. The cucumbers are doing really well. I just harvested a huge one last night. There's a bunch of them growing in here. There's another big one. We just had a good rain. There's another one down there. There's all the watermelon. This thing seems to be working pretty good. I planted a bunch of stuff on it, not thinking anything would grow this first year. And some stuff has been struggling. Like there's a squash that has probably seen better days, or might not make it. But I'm growing things like peanuts, and something out here has discovered that I'm growing peanuts. They know what peanut plants look like or smell like, I don't know, but there's all kinds of little holes, and something has been trying to get to the base of the peanuts. But they're growing. There's another one. They'll get these yellow flowers on them. But you can see all those are black beans that I planted. I moved the okra. I moved this okra over here. I got a bunch of Swiss chard from a local farmer. I got a flat of like maybe 30 of these little plant clusters, and all of them have about 3 plants in the cluster. You know, about 30 plants for like $8. So stuff is starting to do well on the hugelkultur year 1. I also had stuck some ginger in the ground. This is ginger, and I didn't think it was going to make it, but turns out I've got about 4 or 5 of them, 4 or 5 ginger plants that work out pretty well. I also planted rhubarb, garlic chives, a bunch of perennials. Alright, here's an update on the berry area. This is a wild mimosa, and these get these gorgeous flowers on them, and they grow really big. That's one way up there. But if I can keep them trimmed and keep them in check, I can shape them pretty nicely. And this is a nitrogen fixing tree, so everything else that grows around it really likes it. This berry area, some are doing better than others. That's raspberry. These are some bare root canes that I got, and I got some growth off of them, but they kind of seem stunted. There's a little brazzleberry. It's a shortcake variety. But there's wild blackberries and thornless blackberries in amongst the fruit trees. This is peach. This is a Santa Rosa plum that I planted a week or 2 ago, and it's already got all this new growth on it. This is all brand new growth. I had cut it back quite a bit. So it seems to be liking the area. And then I planted comfrey at the base and a bunch of seeds in here, wildflower seeds, and some of them are starting to come up. Here's some seeds. I don't know what that is. I'll see what they grow into. There's a bunch of cool stuff back in here. There's another peach tree that I cut back last year. This is all this year's growth, so that is what should grow peaches next year. You can see there's a bunch of currants. I think that's a red currant. There's a black currant right here. Another red currant. And with gooseberries, there's another currant. There's a black currant. So this is just the beginning. There's another thornless blackberry. Look, starting to get a little fruit set on there. This is that beach plum. Haven't seen much new growth on it yet, but I think it'll do all right. And the pawpaw, which I also have some little starts. This one I bought. This was an expensive tree. This was like $40. You can see it has several bases, which I can probably air layer and move some cuttings from. But over here, these little tiny pawpaws. Here's one. I didn't think that they were still alive, and they're coming back to life. I've got another one over near the compost heap. These sweet potatoes, and beans are doing pretty well. So managing these sticks that I keep cutting back. This is a giant privet that I'm gonna have to trim, but I think I'm gonna get rid of the trimmings instead of trying to bury them or cut them up and throw them around, because it's really invasive. You can see this started from just like one plant and it's enormous, and it keeps sending up new shoots back in here. They're really easy to pluck out, but they all come from that one little plant that was back there like 8 years ago, and now this thing is like a 40-foot tree, and it's invading this entire little forested area back here. But I'm planting other stuff instead, fruit trees and things that taste good. Bees are loving these flowers, as am I. Look at the pollinators, these little tiny native bees. They're so cool. They're everywhere. I'm really digging these tomatoes, these little yellow pear-shaped tomatoes. I'm getting daily harvests. Year one. Definitely gonna save some of these seeds. We just got rain last night, pretty heavy rain. Everything's pretty happy in the backyard. I'm loving this edible landscaping. What a great way to do it. Sure makes coming out on the patio nice. Even when it's hot out. A nice little microclimate in here. The strawberries planted at the base of the fruit trees are a great indicator of moisture in the soil, so they'll droop when it starts to get dry. And they're propagating, they're sending off all kinds of runners right now. So right now I'm just trying to tuck the runners back in there, and then I'll pop out one or two of these and move them out into the food forest. I'm getting some growth on the kumquats. There's one in here that's starting to turn colors, you can see. These things smell so good, these little blossoms. I recently got new flower buds, so I can't wait for these to open. They smell so good. Maybe I'll actually get some lemons. This little pink lemon tree, pink lemonade, Eureka lemon, is kind of coming back to life. The strawberries at the base. These black mission figs, these should be ripe in a day or two. Once they droop, I cut back the top so it would promote growth. I shouldn't have left the fruit on this first year, but I figured I'd give it a try since it already had some little baby fruits on it. But can't wait to try these. So this is the first fig off of my black mission fig tree. Pretty good size, nice and soft. I'm gonna cut it open. Fig that I grew. I'm gonna give it a try. The hugelkultur is doing really well. In fact, I've got some surprises here. My first year. Where have they gone? There it is. There is a watermelon. Another watermelon in there forming. This is my first time ever growing watermelon. These things are cool. I've got some more of these in there too. I have to look for them, but the watermelon has really taken over. The cucumbers are kind of finishing up. This huge zucchini plant took a beating in this storm we had a couple days ago, and I chopped off anything that looked like it was dead, and it's got some new little leaves coming up, so I think it might survive. I still haven't seen any zucchinis yet at all this year. Plenty of flowers, but no zucchinis. The okra's doing well since I moved it. I've got some little okras in there. I planted way too late. All of this I planted way too late in this season, but I'm learning lessons this year that I will take with me next year. Everything seems to be doing okay. And we have a really long growing season here. So I think a lot of stuff will be fine. It's just a little later than most people are getting it. The plants are doing well. I had planted a bunch of garlic in here too, but that didn't seem to take. I might have a couple that are still alive. But ginger's doing well. 2 of my rhubarb died, but 1 is hanging in there. The beans are doing really well. These are these asparagus beans. Long beans. I had misidentified them before, but they're like 3 feet long, and they're really tender. They're super good. So I just planted a bunch more of them on the other side of the fence. I cleared out all this area. You couldn't even get back there. There were sticks and stuff everywhere. So I cleared all that out, raked up the soil, mixed in some compost and stuff, and I planted more of those asparagus beans because they're so good and they grow so well. So I'm definitely looking forward to more of those and another harvest. They don't require a lot of light, so that's good. So this is behind the fence with the beans and stuff. I cleared this out the other day, all back here. You couldn't walk back here before. There's nothing but poison ivy. I munched down a bunch of these sticks to make sure the poison ivy's done with. I'm gonna actually cover all this up with cardboard and wood chips. Let it kind of decompose and let the thorny vines kind of die underneath. But you can see some grass clippings along the base. I planted a bunch more of those asparagus beans. And on this side, you can really see the beans coming in. There's regular little Kentucky pole beans, but those asparagus beans are pretty sweet. And there's one down there. They're about 1 foot long. Here's another one. These things are awesome. They taste so good. They're so tender. Like, they're not leathery like these ones are. Like, these ones you have to cook when they're really young or small. Otherwise, you have to cook them a lot, or pop the beans out, or wait for until they get dry and eat them as dried beans. See, they're producing really well, but I don't like the flavor and texture of them as much as the asparagus beans. So all down here, planted beans, along with some lettuces and spinach and things that don't require a lot of light. Since these are kind of in partial shade, they will not get burned up since I'm planting them in the middle of summer. So this little area is becoming a garden as well. Next year I'll probably take out this fence and let other things that sprawl on the ground grow over here. I also learned my lesson from the watermelons and stuff, in that I think I'm going to plant it over there. So they just cover up the ground. You just need a little pocket for the roots to grow in, and then they'll sprawl out over whatever. You don't have to have a massive area of really good soil. Just a little pocket for the roots to grow. As long as they get good soil, everything else will do just fine. Got some little eggplants forming. Some of these eggplants I had moved not thinking they would produce, and they're actually doing a lot better. See, I got all these flowers and stuff on here, so hopefully I'll get a decent harvest this year. Our peanuts, peanut flowers, peanut plant, peanut flowers. So these flowers, these little yellow flowers, they will drop a stamen into the ground, and that's what's going to become a peanut later on. So that's really cool how these things grow. Hopefully I'll get a crop. The hugelkultur and berry area along with the fruit trees. So there's mimosa, peach, Santa Rosa plum, another native peach, a beach plum, pawpaw, and in the middle is a whole bunch of blackberries, raspberries, currants, gooseberries, and other flowers and stuff that I planted for pollinators. Area. One of these little canes had completely died right here, but the other one is already producing fruit. So let's pick a couple of these. If you just kind of tickle them and they fall off, and they're ready to eat. And they are good, really good. Got a couple of different kinds of blackberries. This one's sending out all kinds of little side shoots. So lateral growth is what the blackberries will grow on. And that right there is just a native wild blackberry that was grown back here. There's a bunch of them, but I've been pruning them. There's another thornless variety. Over here is another wild one. You can see this is a wild blackberry, but I've been pruning it to encourage lateral growth, which is what next year I'll get blackberries on. So it has thorns, but pretty good. And look at this. There's about 10 mosquitoes on it. There's thunder, so it's gonna be storming here pretty soon. Yeah, there was a lightning. The reason I say that, oh. The reason I say that is as I was harvesting cucumbers in the food forest, I noticed that some of them were a little bit smaller. And I like to keep this side of the fence open. I don't know if you can see that. So you can check the progress and kind of know where they are. But since that's coming, I'm going to leave a bunch of these on the vine. Give them a nice hard rain. And then come back and get them probably tomorrow or the next day. And they'll be really, really big and juicy and full of all that rainwater from the storm coming in. Pretty cool.